Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the Township's YouTube channel. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, all information attained is considered part of the public record. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as written? Councillor Lalande, Councillor Woodcock, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? None declared. There is no statutory public meeting this evening. Under our open forum section, we do have someone registered to speak, which is Rodney Hughes. Rodney, are you here? No, you're under deputations, Bill. You'll be coming up after. Come ahead, Rodney. You know the routine with the microphone. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, good. Reeve Wise, Deputy Reeve Davison, and members of council. On October the 20th, I referred to 2 culverts possibly floating out and talked about the science. If they floated, they were filled with air and that part. While I found the two culverts, they don't exist. When I had a meeting with management on August 13th, I was shown a slide of a person in a canoe towing a culvert when I was investigating whether the culvert's washed out or not. And that's where that started. I never verified that there were culverts washed out or not, but I used it and probably shouldn't have in that presentation. And that slide was from 2005, not from 2025. Okay, the reasons to repair Ratty Road. The road is used and needed by the community. The issue is providing the reliable year-round crossing at Mud Creek. That's why the road was essentially put in. The crossing has been maintained and has provided reliable year-round travel and used whether the road was plowed or not. When the school was operating, someone plowed the road, and then there was a period of time it wasn't plowed, but the road was still used because the crossing allowed the reliable crossing. The promise that was made to farmers when the land was settled to have access affected 7 farms east of Ratty Road. 5 of those farms had farmland that was used both sides of the creek. The other 2 had a wood lot on one side and farmland on the other. Now, whether the culverts plugged or structural prevention measures were provided to avoid the washout, that's left to Public Works. They have the job of maintaining the road. The fact that water built up over the last, and over a 3-day period, the flow rate did not release the pressure. This indicates that flow control was the cause. Building up the road rather than relieving the pressure by doing some other measure increased the potential for and the effect of road destruction. The cause was avoidable. The washout concern, if you go back in the history of the road, probably occurred in 2005 when the culverts were put in because some change was made, a significant change was made in the road at that time. And finally, present and future young people need a community that respects and honors a promise made, and a safe rural road to connect with friends, work and obtain needed transportation. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Rodney. Can I have a motion to receive Rodney's presentation? Councillor Woodcock, Councillor Milligan. Any questions from council? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much, Rod. Okay, we have no presentations, but we do have two deputations. The first is from Ted Darby and Amanda Gray on behalf of the Friends of the Napanee River with an update on the flowering rush eradication project and request for township funds in the next budget year. You want to come up to the mic, folks? We have 15 minutes, and the floor is yours once you're ready to go.
There we are. Thank you. Good evening, Reeve Wise, Deputy Reeve Davison, members of council and township staff. We are Ted Darby and Amanda Gray, and we represent Friends of the Napanee River and Lennox and Addington Stewardship Council, respectively. And we're here tonight, first of all, thank you very much for allowing us to appear. And we're giving this presentation, this update, on behalf of our friend Lawrence O'Keefe. And as some of you probably already know, Lawrence has left us. He's moved to the wilds of Newmarket, Ontario. And both conservation groups really miss his presence, his energy, and his commitment to this community and to the environment. So thank you, Lawrence, because I know he's watching. So we'd like to start off just by reminding you, because it's been a long time since we talked about flowering rush, and just to remind you about this invasive plant. So as you can see, here it is on the slide. It's an invasive aquatic plant. It's having a big impact on our Napanee River. Unfortunately, it's also a really pretty plant. You can see from midsummer to September, there are these lovely pink flowers. And it was introduced as an ornamental plant for gardeners. It is native to Europe, Asia, and Africa, but it's been in North America since the late 19th century, and it's now taken hold in all 10 provinces, and it's across much of the northern United States as well. So it favors and is found in typically quite shallow water, sort of 1.3 meters depth or less. And once it takes hold, as it has done, as you'll see in another picture, it very quickly displaces native vegetation. It affects the water quality, the flow, the supply, and of course then has an impact on the fish and wildlife. But it also has an impact on recreational use of the water. Anita, could you advance to slide number 6 for me, please? I'll give you a heads up. That's it. So this picture was taken this past summer, and this is Dr. Janice Gilbert, who did the professional survey of the 1.8 kilometer stretch of the river between Curl Road and Yarker. And she was absolutely astonished at the density of the flowering rush. She had a job getting her boat launched. So I just wanted to give you that illustration. Anita, could you go back to slide number 2 for me? Thanks very much. So just before I hand things over to Ted, I wanted to say the project was launched in 2024 by Lawrence O'Keefe, and he has spent many, many hours doing his research and finding our project partners, as well as key advisors, funding sources, and so on. So I'm going to hand things over to Ted now.
Right. Good evening. So the slide that is up next illustrates the collaboration that's been put in place to bring us to where we are today with multiple partners, multiple experts, agencies. This is not sort of an isolated enterprise. This is one where we've built with on our expert partners, including Conservation Authority, Quinte Conservation, Ministry of the Environment, Department of Fisheries and Affairs, so federal, municipal, and provincial agencies. So we built on a lot of expertise and basically trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do? We've got a major issue. We've got a river now that's becoming almost unnavigable in terms of having a canoe, unswimmable in certain areas because of this particular invasive species. So based on Lawrence's work and finding out what others have done, particularly Alberta, other jurisdictions, there's significant evidence that you can do eradication using a specific herbicide. But to further that work, we can go to the next slide. So the accomplishments that we've done in the first phase, which is the research, the investigation, and the preparation, is a tremendous amount of work, as you can note in the slide presentation, many hours of volunteer work. One of the things we have to do is basically map out what have we got. Because if we're going to evaluate this, if we're going to do something, if we're going to have an intervention, we need to figure out what's our baseline. So we, in collaboration with Quinte Conservation, we did a significant study of what the density of flowering rush is currently. So we did a mapping, and I'll be speaking about the results of that momentarily. The other thing we've done is community consultation engagement. So we've had a number of landowner sessions, people that live near the river that would be potentially impacted by the work. So we've had these sessions to make sure that there's, again, good collaboration. And we've also brought in the pros, the professional, Dr. Gilbert, to do a more localized assessment we already mentioned. The slide that's in front of you at this point illustrates the river and the sections that we've looked at. The circle illustrates where we had the professional assessment that was more comprehensive in nature, but we used volunteers that were trained to do basically the entire river from Petworth down to the Bay of Quinte. We were able to, with Quinte Conservation, develop a phone app. So we were actually able to map the incidence of the species, the plant, literally on a plant-by-plant basis. We could map the density in the river using a phone app that tracked the GPS coordinates. It was wonderful. It was a great tool to use, and it actually, even though we're not trained professionals, we were able to do a quantitative approach to map out where the species is. And what we found is the density was highest in the area that's basically where the circle is. Actually, I'll take you to the next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry. You were on it. You're anticipating me.
No, that was my fault.
No, perfect. No, this is great. Yeah, so what you'll see is the area is red, I believe, is the highest density, where we saw a significant prevalence of the species. And then you see a less numbers as you proceed both upstream and downstream. What was very interesting is that even in the downstream of Napanee, as you approach the Bay of Quinte, the species was isolated, but we still found it. It was still there. So we're seeing spread through the river. And I think that's quite dramatic is that this wasn't the case a few years ago. This isn't something that's gradually crept up. It's kind of like it wasn't there, and now it's there. And now it's becoming, definitely there's a much higher level of this plant. Okay, so moving right along. Our next slide. Yeah, so this was the professional assessment that we already mentioned, and you can see the density of the plant in the area between Yarker and Coe Road. So now to move to the funding for the project and what we're proposing. So what we're proposing is a application of a herbicide by licensed professionals. This all has to be done under federal approval and provincial approval. We need funding to do this. The good news is there are grants available. There's a matching grant available that will match half of the cost. So we're looking at a $15,000 total project cost, of which we can apply to the Invasive Species Action Fund for 50%, $7,500. So we have to make up the difference. The difference is right now we've got Friends of the Napanee that have contributed $1,000, the Lennox and Addington Stewardship Council that's committed $1,000, the municipality of Stone Mills committed $500 in 2025, and what we're requesting is $2,000 in 2026. We've applied as well for the Community Foundation of Lennox and Addington for funding of $1,500. Now, there's still a shortfall when you kind of add up all those numbers. There's still a shortfall in the magnitude of $2,000, which we intend to raise from the local landowners. So that's going to be a door knock, telephone call, email, enterprise to raise those additional funds so that our contribution, if we're successful in this plan, will be $7,500, which will then be matched by $7,500 from the Invasive Species Action Fund. The plan is to apply to this fund in December 2025. So the reason why we're here tonight is because we need to start to secure some commitment that the funds will be available so that we can go to, we can put in this grant application in December and apply for the funds. So what we're looking at this point is some commitment. Appreciate that the budget won't be done until next year, so the commitment might be a small c rather than a capital C commitment. It might be a pledge. It might be an indication of support. I'll leave that to the wisdom of staff to determine the appropriate word, but we would greatly appreciate some indication of support so that we can submit our grant application knowing that we've got a commitment for this funding. What we intend to do in terms of timeline, which is the final, I think our next to final slide, is if we are successful in the funding, then we'll begin the planning to do the spray program of this herbicide. Habitat Aqua is the brand name. That will occur in the area, the 1.8 kilometer area that has the highest proliferation of this species. We will do the spraying in 2026. We will do an assessment in the fall in 2026. We will do a preliminary report, evaluation report in the fall of 26. We will not only deliver that interim report, but we will also, there will be another follow-up evaluation in the summer of 27, so that we will see what impact this has had. This will allow us now, as I mentioned, this is sort of a pilot project. We need to see what happens. Is it effective? And then we'll be able to determine next steps. So this is a pilot project. Budget $15,000, and we're asking for a pledge of some sort from council so that we can apply for the grant and make this happen. Thank you very much, and we'd be pleased to take any questions you may have.
Thanks, Amanda and Ted. Any questions or comments, council? Yes, go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
Yes, hi. That's wonderful what you're doing. When do you have to have your proposal in for? What's the month?
The application to the invasives, the application will be in December of this year. I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, anyone else? I have a few questions.
Yes.
I assume this plant has showed up in various jurisdictions. I think you said all 10 provinces, Ted. In places where it's established originally, what's been the progress of the infestation, and if they've used similar control methods, how effective have they been?
This is the point where it would be helpful to have Lawrence here. So my apologies. I'm not that familiar with other studies to indicate what's been done, but I certainly know that Lawrence has done very thorough research on this matter, and particularly the experience in Alberta, where this eradication treatment has been found to be effective. But I think we're dealing with a somewhat unique situation, and that's why it's so important to do this, see this as a pilot. To see what the experience has been in others that shows that this is an effective methodology, whether it will work. I can tell you Dr. Gilbert has done a lot of this work and feels that this will work well. I participated in the study that she did when she came here on site, and she seemed to be quite confident that this would work. But again, until we try it and see, I don't think we'll really know.
Okay. I guess my other questions largely relate to those other experiences. What's that wetland invasive with the pink flower? I can't remember its name that we were... Purple loosestrife. In that case, it seems that insect pests, or perhaps introduced insect, I guess they're not pests when they're getting rid of something you want, predators, eventually seem to stabilize that population. So I'm wondering if the same has been observed with flowering rush, but I'll leave that. It's just something that might be of interest. In terms of the spray itself,
Yes.
what other aquatic plants or shoreline plants might be susceptible to that material?
It's a very, very, first of all, the product is incredibly expensive. It's applied with a surfactant because flowering rush is quite waxy in nature, so it reduces the surface tension. It is a restricted label, which is why you have to have licensed and experienced professionals to apply it. And it targets a specific enzyme in the plant. So they say, this is BASF chemicals, that it is safe. Because it is so targeted, it's very carefully applied just to the flowering rush. If it gets into the water, the half-life is at most 5 days. It degrades very rapidly in sunlight in the water. So I'm going on what I've read about the herbicide, and again, because we're non-scientists, we're relying on the guidance of the PhD people that are helping us with the project. Does that go some way to?
Well, I mean,
yeah,
all we can do is accept the research opinion. And if it's targeted to an enzyme that's specific to a certain plant, that would seem to indicate it's not going to have a broad spectrum effect. So we're sort of left with that to deal with. In terms of seeking funding, have you spoken to South Frontenac Council and Greater Napanee Council?
I think that Lawrence did approach the town of Greater Napanee. Lawrence, come in.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I would think that this is of concern to every municipality
Yes.
in the watershed. So I'm hoping that other councils will be kicking in here.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good suggestion, and we're taking notes as you're asking these questions, and the one thing that I will do as our homework is to make sure that we do provide you with a literature review in terms of other studies and other experience. So I'm making my checklist.
And we've got Lawrence coming in. Lawrence said Alberta Conservation used the same product and totally eliminated flowering rush on Lake Isle or Lake Eel in 1 year. He also says he's liaised with over 15 jurisdictions and 25 projects who've done similar work over the last 4 years. So if that goes some way to answering your...
Yeah, and I would like to hear back.
No, we will
about other
respond
councils.
back, and
Yeah.
I'll provide you with a literature review. It's what I do. The other point about other jurisdictions, or applying for funds from others, we're managing our time, and I think we definitely need to do that. We just now need to make the time to do that, but we're starting, this is a $15,000 project, and, you know, if we have to do more of this, we certainly will need to engage. So we're just trying to get the pilot project launched. If we'll take your counsel, and if you feel that we should make an approach to the county and to the town of Napanee, that's good advice.
And, you know, when I say that, I realize that your undertaking is specifically on parts of the river that are within Stone Mills. That's my assumption, but I think you did mention, Ted, that it's been spotted downstream as well, which I assume would be within Greater Napanee.
Yes, I did the section from King Street to Minks Bridge, and it's really well established. I also did the section, interestingly, from Colebrook Dam to Petworth. There isn't a single flowering rush, which is I found fascinating. So perhaps the dam is a natural barrier. And because of the low water levels this year, I usually kayak up from Petworth right up into the swamp, but I waited a bit too long and there wasn't enough water even for a kayak.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, okay, that's great. So later in the meeting, we'll be deliberating your request. For now, we'll just, unless someone else has a question or comment, can I get a motion to receive the presentation then? Councillor Land and Councillor Milligan, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, folks. Thank you. Good night. Okay, our next delegation is from William Carroll, speaking to the closure of Ratty Road and fire filling station loss. Just come up to the mic, Bill, and press the silver button there. That will activate the microphone. You have 15 minutes. Go ahead when you're ready.
If we close Ratty Road, we will lose access to a fire hydrant on Ratty Road, because the fire hydrant can be accessed from Centreville Road only. So we need to keep Ratty Road open so that we can have adequate fire protection. I've drove around to see how long it would take to drive from Ratty Road to the filling station on Ratty Road by way of 41 Highway. It was 12 minutes one way, and for to go the other way using County Road 27, it was 11 minutes that way. So it adds quite a bit of time to the trip for to get water from that fire hydrant on Ratty Road if the road's not open. When you're fighting a fire, it's kind of important to do it in a timely fashion, because accidents do happen. People do get burnt and sometimes killed in a fire. And people make unwise choices sometimes when their house is on fire and a loved one or a pet is left behind. They rush into a house, even that's on fire, to rescue a loved one. And sometimes that's not a very good choice. Sometimes they lose their life too. I read a newspaper article about a guy down in California. He decided he was going to stay behind in his community and fight the fire that was rushing across the area of town that he was living in. Halfway through the fire, he decided he had stayed too long. He was surrounded on all four sides of his property with fire. He was fighting the fire with the water hydrant system. The town lost the fire hydrants because low water pressure. He was burning because of the heat. Fortunately, he had a swimming pool. He was able to jump in the swimming pool to keep his skin from burning too much. And he did manage to save his home. They asked him, a reporter asked him after he'd done all that, would he do it again? Not on my life. This was way too dangerous. If I had any idea how bad this fire was going to be, I would not have done this. I would have built my house again because I thought I was dead. So it's easy to say, yeah, it's only going to add 10 minutes. Well, it doesn't take long sometimes to kill somebody in a fire. We need to take care of this. And some municipalities is restricting swimming pools in an area with fences. How about the township in the fee to have a swimming pool allowed, have enough for a padlock? Have all the padlocks in the township, key to like, have the fire department have a key to the padlocks, and they can go into swimming pools when they need to in an emergency to fight a fire. This would be a big help in all the hamlets, especially the ones that don't have a lot of water access. That was the main things that I wanted to touch here today. What's a life worth? It doesn't take long for a fire to snuff out a life. And I don't think there should be much engineering stuff that would have to be done on that because it's a swamp. We've got a good base in there. The bridge that was in there before was there over 100 years. So all you need to do is put some sort of structure in there that will allow the water to go across the Ready Road without destroying the road. Any other questions?
Thanks, Mr. Carroll. Any questions or comments from council? Could I get a motion to receive Bill's presentation? Councillor Land, Councillor Milligan, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much, Bill. Okay, that brings us to Section 8, items for consideration. First one, 8.4, is a review of our special events bylaw. The recommended motion is that the report be received and further that staff be directed to incorporate the following proposed changes into the special events bylaw and brought back for a future meeting. One would be removal of an option to request an exemption to the bylaw. Two would be inclusion of delegated authority to staff for approving yearly events with the authority to determine what documents are required to process special event application. Three, removal of the $1,000 deposit and replace it with a clause about being responsible for damages. Four, introduction of an administrative monetary penalty and short form wording for fines for those in contravention of the bylaw. Five, removal of the requirement for the applicant to notify fire, police, and county ambulance services and include a provision that upon approval, township staff would provide notification to relevant external agencies. Six, update and include more definitions for greater clarity. Seven, updated language surrounding permit requirements for greater clarity. And eight, update insurance requirements for greater clarity and simplicity. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor MacDonald, Clerk Teeple, did you wish to speak to this report?
Thank you, Reeve Wise. Council directed staff to review the special event permit policy and to add list to the exemptions. Staff were recommending, just on a high level, that the option to request an exemption be just removed altogether, and that repeating events such as the boat races or the Canada Day parades, staff be delegated authority to work with those organizations, just so we can ensure that proper insurance is in place. We have parking plans, emergency plans. Providing a full exemption, it would limit staff's ability to ask for those documents, and staff just felt like those were important documents to have on hand. So that's the reasoning for the removal of it. And then we just did a high-level review of the policy and just had a few recommendations in there that we highlighted were kind of challenges with the policy. So if there's any questions about the listed items, I'm happy to answer any questions, or with the policy in general, I can try to answer them.
Thanks, Brandy. Any questions or comments on this one? So the delegated authority, this would be for basically events that have become annual and sort of routine.
That's correct. We wouldn't make applicants go through the full process. So if they already have like a site plan that they've originally provided to us historically, we would just use that provided there was no changes to it, and we would confirm with the applicant. If they were using the same emergency plan, we would say, we just have this on file, you don't need to resubmit. So it will make lighter work for them.
Good. Any questions? Everyone's comfortable with these changes? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Brandy. Okay, that brings us to the Friends of Napanee River request for donation on the Flowering Rush Eradication Project. And the recommended motion is the council receive the report on this issue and the council provide direction to staff with respect to the donation request. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Lalonde, Councillor Milligan. Any discussion? What is your wishes? Yes, Deputy Reeve Davison.
I believe that when we talked with Lawrence last year on this, that we didn't give any promises, but I believe we implied that we would support this, with the donation of $500. So I would like to just say that, make the motion that we would support this, and if possible, if we could support it out of this year's budget.
Any further discussion? Councillor Milligan.
I would just second that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Could I ask Treasurer Raymond what we have in our donations budget approximately, Anita?
Thank you, Revise. I believe we have about $7,500 currently in there.
Okay, that's fine, then we certainly have the funds. I would certainly support it. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, thank you,
Speak up,
Revise.
Brandy.
So there's $7,654.97 remaining in the budget. And then I'll just note that there is a motion on the floor by Councillor Lalonde and Councillor Milligan. So if we just want to plug in the number that council wishes to donate, if it's conducive to both mover and seconder, I can include that. So I just need to know the amount.
Very good. Yes, that's right. So you're comfortable with the $2,000? Okay. All in favor? That's carried. Excellent. Yeah. 8.6 is the Beaver Lake disposition update. The recommended motion is that the report entitled Beaver Lake Disposition Update be received for information. Can I get that one on the floor, please? Councillor Milligan, Deputy Reeve Davison, CAO White, this is you.
Thank you. This was just an update to the conversation that we had recently in the presentation about the powerboat event that's held there, and there was a question from council during that discussion about the status of the disposition, because at this time any events that are being held at that location needs to go through Infrastructure Ontario in order to get the permission to use that location. So that remains unchanged, and it appears there is no significant progress, I guess, on that disposition, that there's quite a lengthy process in moving that piece of property through Infrastructure Ontario's regulations as far as who gets offered what and when and at what price. But I thought it would be prudent to just share that with council so that they were aware that where it's at and the potential timelines attached to this, which looks like we're looking into 2027 before we see anything very significant, as far as our opportunity to even consider this property, and keeping in mind that what market rate is maybe even may preclude us from even being interested in that property. So just an information update for council.
Thanks, Jason. Any questions or comments? Councillor Milligan.
I was just going to mention, now that we know their stance on this, and it sounds pretty certain nothing's going to happen for quite a while, if we shouldn't educate the public about this. And the Lions use the park a lot, and the powerboat races and stuff, so they realize that it's not just as simple as talking to the township. I have to admit, before I was on council, I assumed the township owned the land. People planning things we might need to make that more public so people are aware there's more to it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, I agree. I'm sure 90% of the community just thinks that's Stone Mills Lions Park, that we own it, or the Lions own it, or it's some kind of mutual deal, but it's not. It's the ministry. Okay, anything further on that item? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, 8.7, it brings us to the report on the Ratty Road issue, and the motion is that council receives a staff report entitled Ratty Road, and that council directs staff to proceed with options 1, 2, or 3 as outlined in the report. I will leave off getting a mover and seconder because we have to make a specific motion about which options we're going to choose, or if we're going to choose any of those options. So, Mr. Thompson, Manager of Public Works, do you want to address your report?
Thank you, Revise. First I'd like to acknowledge the work that Mr. Hughes has put in on researching history and gathering information that he has. I know how much time it takes to do that. And I've spoke to Rod a few times, either on the phone or in person, and we've expressed to each other that no hard feelings on the information that each other has gathered back. This report is kind of mirroring the report I took back the first time at the request of council to add some financial costs into each option. So I did that, and just to note, they are estimates, so they could be higher, could be lower, but they are estimates. And the option 3, that's the only one that changed. New information came that we had to survey Ratty Road at the closure points, so we had to add in 2 more pins. So we had an estimated cost of $5,000 for that. And other points, I added the key points. I won't go through each one, but basically they were, I had a few hours to get it done after coming home from holidays and seeing the delegation that Mr. Hughes had done. So there's 15 points there. I researched, added some photos from history and road closure notices, just stuff over the last 15 years that we've gathered. But I'm happy to take any questions on any of those points or any of the new information.
Any questions or comments from council? Yes, Doug, go ahead.
Well, my comment is this is a very important discussion, and it's very obvious that there's a huge community involvement in this, in the closure aspect of it. I mean, the council first looked at this as a financial situation, and I mean, it's a huge cost to repair this road properly. And so there's a lot of thinking to be done here. I'm concerned that we don't have a full council tonight, and I'm wondering if we can hold this over. We only had the few days on the weekend to look at the report. Not much time to talk to Jeff or anything about it. I'm wondering if we can hold this over until we've got a full council.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Land.
Just a couple of questions for Jeff. So Mr. Carroll presented a very good or interesting thought, and that was about the 11 to 12 minutes away from getting water if you close that. You're also heavily involved in the fire department, and I just, my first question would be, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. It was raised in the initial report. So that hydrant is not utilized anymore. So we have a new hydrant at 925 Centreville Road at our quarry, which is a year-round reliable water source. And with our recent water shuttle accreditation, we have no issues flowing. I think we got 726 gallons a minute.
Sorry, do you know, is there a difference in time from if you had been able to come up Ratty Road and pull from there versus going over to Centreville? Is it like a minute or two, or?
So I had it measured off at 8 kilometers was the difference.
Okay.
So the drive time in 8 kilometers, that's using Lock Ridge Road.
The second consideration is there've been, you've cited a number of road closures, temporary, and that's certainly understandable when you're aware that that road does not necessarily wash out, but it certainly gets pretty wet there. I guess my concern is school buses. There was some comment by Mr. Hughes about the fact that it had been used for that purpose. But I understand that there are times when the school bus can't go down that road for that particular reason. And I do have concerns about a school bus going down a road that, as we saw in the spring, washed out. So can you give me some thoughts on that?
To date, we've had no calls from school buses on the closure or school companies. It'd be the school board, actually. In our road closure notifications that go out, that goes to the school board, just as a blanket email that it's closed. So, but I don't know whether they've had to adjust routes, or I've never had any comments from the school board.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Woodcock.
I'm sort of with Doug on this, that I would like some more time for consideration. I think the role that this plays in farming is important, and that's a strategic priority in our strategic plan in this community. And again, more and more we talk about sovereignty, we have to talk about food sovereignty. And I would want some more time for consideration if I'm was to go in a different option than the primary recommendation here, to consider and probably go out and talk to some more people and have some time to talk to Jeff more in depth. And I also agree having Rob here would also be good. So I feel, because it is an important decision, I would feel fine having a little more time to process through.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Milligan.
I was just going to say, I'm sure even if we had voted tonight to fix the road, it wouldn't be in this year's timeline anyway, correct?
Well, if winter holds off till February, we'd be all right. Fingers crossed.
Anyone else? In terms of the research Mr. Hughes has done, and I guess the oral tradition of some sort of promise made by some authority to keep this road open, do we have any record of such a promise or guarantee that you're aware of, Jeff, in your experience?
No, through you, Revise, one of the initial meetings I had with Mr. Hughes, I had asked the question if it was registered on title, if there was any proof on the surveying, on the deeds. But I think it was 1792. So there was no proof other than just a verbal promise.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just curious from a historical standpoint. So it basically predates Confederation or the existence of the province itself. Yeah, I agree with the other comments. Jeff has been away on holidays, only just got back. I'm sure his plate's pretty full, so he hasn't time to fully digest the whole issue either. Just from a general standpoint, even closing it's going to cost money, but it's just going to cost money once. The other decisions will require long-term commitments, either of major capital funds to create a fairly substantial crossing, essentially a bridge, or a less robust construction that will probably continue to wash out, especially with climate change adding to the intensity of rainfall events and so on. So once again, we're being asked to balance a local community's desire, legitimate desire to keep a road open, and the general tax base's inability to do everything that everybody wants. We're always faced with these sorts of decisions. We've got a bridge over at Croydon. It's my favorite example, which doesn't really cost a lot of extra time if that bridge didn't exist. Ratty does cost some extra time. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace Teskey Bridge. I'm hoping we don't do that one. This one's a little more difficult, but I agree we need some more time to evaluate it, and we're not just kicking the can down Ratty Road. We just want to make the right decision. If we do decide to maintain it, that will be next year's budget and next year's construction activity. Nothing's going to happen fast. So unless someone has something else, I would entertain a motion to simply receive the report and to the effect of let's continue the discussion. Deputy Reeve Davison moves that. Councillor Woodcock seconds it. And my clerk has a comment.
Sorry, Reeve Wise, just under the procedural bylaw, motion to defer from a council agenda. It does request a time frame or a date for when something should come back, and that'll give direction to staff. So if we can get a motion to defer.
Next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so next meeting, we'll have had time to digest this, to ask questions of Jeff, and bring it back for further discussion at our next regular meeting, and hope that all council is able to attend at that time. Is that agreeable to everyone? I'll call a question, and all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much. And we move on to Quinte Conservation preliminary budget. The recommendation is that the correspondence from Quinte Conservation be received for information, and further that comments be provided to the clerk by November 28th. Can I get that on the floor, please? Councillor Woodcock, Councillor Milligan. And nobody is in particular speaking to this. I wonder, did you wish to speak to this, Jason, or could we get Krista Lee to speak from the conservation's perspective? Perhaps that would be more appropriate. Go ahead, Krista Lee.
Yeah, well, as you know, costs go up and up. The primary thing here is there's no new programming being added. It's really a maintenance. I'll just wait a minute.
You clear the room as you're able, and keep the conversation down, please, because we've got to continue to discuss business here. Thank you. Go ahead, Krista Lee.
Yeah, so this suggestion is there's going to be no new programs added. Really, it's a maintenance of the ongoing programming. And then, of course, there's like a small amount that is for staff retention, which is the cost of living allowance. I think we see that here a lot, that staff retention is really important. And we know that there's not a lot of other sources for funding for Quinte Conservation. The one thing they also mention is there's been a pause on all fees that is supposed to end in January. Whether or not, also I have some difficulty with that because I believe that conservation areas should be, affordable and accessible to everybody. And so even that, it's another way to generate revenue. But it does then limit some people's access to those spaces, but that's another potential way for revenue starting in January on.
Okay, any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Milligan.
I just wondered if any of this will change. I see this was dated October 23rd, and then about the 31st, there was an announcement that they were amalgamating all the conservation authorities.
They're talking about amalgamating.
Okay.
That's not in.
It wouldn't be
for
till
sure.
after the municipal election next year anyways, or something they said.
Nobody knows, but it's just under discussion. It's the same as it's been for public health with all the different health units. It was kind of in the air, then COVID hit, and then our local area units decided to be proactive and create this new health unit. But no, it's all still up in the air as far as I understand it. So they're looking, Quinte Conservation is looking for comments. Did we have anything we wish to ask of them? Do we want a reduction? Any thoughts? Or do we simply receive this for information at this time? Councillor McDonald.
I just have a question. It's 7.79% increase. How does that go across all our member municipalities?
It's not the same percentage for everywhere. You probably know this better than me. It's not the same percentage everywhere. It depends on like the amount of what your watershed falls within the conservation area.
And what capital works are being done. We unfortunately have, as part of our obligations, the maintenance and possible upgrades of both dams at the Depot Lakes. Other parts of Quinte Conservation are not even on the Napanee River. They don't cover that. They have their own sort of maintenance and responsibilities financially. So it is specifically targeted to whatever assets Quinte Conservation manages within your particular watershed and township. So Greater Napanee, Stone Mills, South Frontenac, and any other municipalities upstream like Central and even North Frontenac have to chip in to cover costs such as those Depot Lake dams. We also have the dam at Colebrook and so on and so forth. Napanee has Springside Park. So it depends what you've got. So 7.9% is certainly above the cost of living, but it's because we've got deteriorating assets. In particular, third Depot Lake Dam is a definite threat to life and property because it's at risk of failure in a major storm event. So QCA has been doing studies on that dam, which have been fairly expensive as well, but there still hasn't even been any specific work done on it. There's even discussion that maybe the best thing to do with Third Lake Dam is to remove it, to return it to what it was like before 1975 when that dam existed, and just let the water go down to its natural level. So there's a lot of balls in the air right now. But even removing that dam would be a big cost as well. So any other discussion on this one? Can I just have a motion then to, did I get mover and seconder? So we've got a motion to receive. So all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much. Thanks, Crystal Lee. Next is our consent agenda. These are items which are simply routine, but if there's anything anyone wants to pull out of the consent agenda for individual discussion, please let me know at this point. No one's got anything? In that case, Councillor Lalande? Okay.
So 916, the Opposition to Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act in 2025. The act was passed, but I believe the township that's submitting that letter is wishing to add some municipal engagement in that.
So you want to pull that out for discussion?
Yes, please.
You do? Okay, we will do that. Anything else? Can I get a motion then to approve the rest of the consent agenda? Councillor Milligan and Deputy Reeve Davison. All in favor? That's carried. And so, Wanda, go ahead with your concerns about item 916.
It's the Township of Gwillimbury, which is just north of Newmarket somewhere. Wish I could tell you exactly where. And they're just basically reviewing the conditions of the act, and they're asking that council endorses the position of the Association of Municipalities in requesting that municipalities be included in the development of any regulatory framework related to special economic zones. And I thought that just that statement alone deserved some recognition and some discussion to see if this township was interested as well in supporting their letter of intention.
So you're basically moving that we receive and endorse this resolution by East Gwillimbury? Okay, is there any discussion on that or a seconder? Councillor Woodcock?
I agree in supporting that letter. I think we have opposed this previously, but I will say it's being enacted, but it is accepting public comment until November 10th as well. So if we wanted to send something as a form of public comment, or it's not public comment, as a before November 10th, that would still, I think, have some beneficial role. It's a scary bill. It's,
Okay, so you're seconding Wendy's motion?
I'll second that because they're
Okay.
still accepting comment.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay, yes, number 11 is notice of motion or direct motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion this evening? Does anyone have a direct motion that they wish to make a motion? Oh, you have a notice of motion, Wenda?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Brandy for wording it so beautifully. So I'm just going to read this. Notice of motion, whereas the Township of Stone Mills adopted a strategic plan in 2015, and whereas the Township of Stone Mills aims to ensure the transparency and effectiveness of its strategic initiatives, and whereas regular updates on the progress of strategic initiatives are necessary to assess alignment with the township's objectives, and whereas within the 2015 strategic plan, a corporate work plan was adopted for each strategic initiative or objective, and whereas a formal update on the status of the strategic plan, corporate work plan, has not been provided in recent years, be it resolved that municipal staff be directed to, number one, compile an updated status report on each initiative within the existing strategic plan, including current progress, completion status, challenges faced, and anticipating timelines. Number two, highlight any initiatives that are behind schedule or over budget, providing explanations and proposed corrective actions. Number three, assess the impact of current initiatives on the township's goals and objectives, offering insights into overall strategic alignment. And finally, number four, present the status report prior to the adoption of the 2026 budget, ensuring it is made available to the public.
Thank you, Councillor Lalande. So that's simply an announcement, essentially. There's no vote required or anything like that at this point. Okay, anyone else have a notice of motion? Does anyone have a direct motion on an urgent matter? None. Which brings us to announcements. Any announcements? Councillor Milligan.
Just a quick announcement to remind everyone of Remembrance Day on November 11th. There's a parade in Tamworth at around 10 to 11, and then everyone meets at the Cenotaph, and then for the ceremony, and then back to the Legion for a light lunch. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Milligan. Anyone else? Yes, that's right, Jason, you did mention you had something. Go ahead.
Just further to that, from a staff point of view, on November 11th, the township will be closing its offices early to allow for staff to attend the ceremonies in Tamworth. So we don't typically close our office during the day, but we will do so early for the lunch break and then resume normal operations after the lunch break. And we'll be posting public notice accordingly, but felt it was prudent to make the announcement at the council meeting just prior to that as well.
So what would the actual closure hours be from what time to what time, Jason?
I believe last year we closed just before 11 to allow for people who are going to attend to get up to Tamworth and get situated and then come back shortly after that or during their lunch break. Essentially, yeah.
Thanks very much. I don't have an announcement, but it was a surprise to me when Amanda Gray said that Lawrence O'Keefe has moved out of the area. I had not heard. No, I almost feel like he should have let us know. You know, he's almost like a committee of council on its own, right? So I'm sorry that Larry's no longer part of our community, and I'm very grateful to his many contributions and advice to council and for his genuine community concern and his love of the Napanee River. We'll really miss having him around. Which brings us to our confirmation of proceedings bylaw. Can I get a mover and seconder confirm? Councillor Milligan, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? It's carried. And a motion to adjourn, please, from Councillor Woodcock and Councillor McDonald, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.